It was a horrific crime caught on camera. A father and mother attacked their teenage daughter outside her school in an alleged honor-killing attempt. The girl is mercilessly choked by her father's own hands. Her alleged crime? Refusing to wed a man out of the country in a forced arranged marriage. Bystanders and the girl's own boyfriend all jumped in to save her life. The entire moment her nearly lifeless body was saved was all caught on camera. And now her parents are on trial, charged with attempted second-degree murder. Also tonight, Karen Reed's murder trial may have come to a victorious end for Karen Reed, but now she's gearing up for her civil case. Her deceased boyfriend's family is suing her for wrongful death. John O'Keefe's family says she is responsible for his death after a night of drinking. And now news that Karen Reed has a brand new defense team as she gears up for her latest legal battle. Plus, nearly 10 years to the day after mother of 5, Crystal Rogers, disappeared, the father of her youngest child learns his fate. The jury has spoken in the murder case against Brooks Houck and one of his alleged accomplices. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And during this hour, especially during this first story that we're covering, you're going to get angry. You are going to be livid. Trust me, as you hear the facts, hear the story, and see what happens, you're going to be outraged. But before we get to the outrage, let's talk about the kids. You know, at the end of every program, those of you who've been following me for years, I always finish by reminding folks to hug the kids. And for parents who have actual children, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't forget to hug your own kids, you know? But I also say it because it's a reminder to all of us, the grown-ups in society, to keep an eye out for children and make sure that they are protected. You know, whether you're walking around and seeing a child who may be in peril, or you know of a situation, or you're in a position to help keep children safe, we should do that and sort of metaphorically hug the kids. Now, I'm going to tell you about some people who did exactly that and jumped into action to protect children. I'm also going to tell you about 2 people who did the exact opposite. And unbelievably, those 2 people are the parents of the child. I'm talking about Mr. and Mrs. Ali, who wanted to set their kids up, their teenage daughter into an arranged marriage. Now, I understand that there are cultural differences around the world, right? This child was being raised in the United States of America, so, you know, probably got a little flavor for what life was like for most kids in the United States. You know, teenagers, you go to school, you hang out with other teenagers, maybe you have a boyfriend. You know, you do kind of normal, everyday things that happen each and every day across the country. Now, they're not originally from this country, is what I gather from all of this, and this arranged marriage was to set their teenage daughter up with a older man in Iraq. Now, I don't even know if she even knew who he was. That's not clear. But what is clear is that the daughter didn't want anything to do with it. She absolutely rejected this, and as a result was subjected to abuse at home and then an attempted honor killing is what prosecutors are alleging here. Where did it take place? Right outside of the school, in front of her friends. And I'm calling this dishonorable abuse. I don't know how those 2 words go together, honor killing. Of your own child? Because she won't marry some creepy old guy from Iraq? Are you kidding me? Anyhow, we know that in this country, and I don't know how the parents don't understand that you can't do this. They did it in a very public way in front of a whole bunch of people. But as I told you off the top, these people were seeing what was going on. They didn't just stand by and do nothing. They jumped in and saved this young girl from the hands of her own father that were around her neck. Now, we've got some video to show you. The Daily Mail obtained this video. The first surveillance is from a bus that is pulling up at the moment, and you'll see the father go after the daughter and gets her onto the ground. And that's when the bystanders, including this teenager's boyfriend, jump in to save her. Let's take a look. You see that man stepping up? Someone stops their car in the middle of the road, gets out to help and save this child. We've got more video from this, again, obtained by the Daily Mail. And in this moment, you'll see that he, again, is on top of his own daughter, trying, according to prosecutors, attempting to kill her by choking her to death. And the folks there who were saving her, other folks that are there are calling 911. Police are responding. I've got the body camera video to show you tonight. You're going to learn a lot more in the aftermath of this because you're going to hear from the victim's sister. You're going to hear the father as he gets arrested and pay attention to his attitude about all of this. Let's watch.
He's laying down right there.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
That's the suspect or victim?
That's the guy that was hitting the girl. Hey, God bless his name.
He did. He was trying to kill her.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back now.
You guys step back. Was there any other person?
And my mom, she's right after her.
Stay back.
Get her.
Stay back.
I need the car.
Stay back.
She was
Stay back.
too.
Please.
Guys, come over here.
Ring up the round survive.
Hey, who is you? Stand back.
I got the mail stick.
Dad, that you don't have no business.
He's detained by the bus stop. He's going to be the primary aggressor.
He's trying to her.
What do you need?
I know him.
I know. Is the runaway?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Well, runaway somewhere. That's sister.
In the office.
Maybe just witnesses, whoever saw whatever. I think that guy in the backpack saw some stuff.
All right, cool.
So
you good here?
Yep.
My mom is
We're at the,
my sister.
There's somebody in the office.
Oh, they're in there.
If you can cross-reference my runaway call, the suspect aggressor is going to be PRP.
Really aggressive. So they're in there. They're in the school. They ran away.
Let me get my gloves on.
Ran back into the school, and she got another person.
Yes.
He starts like grabbing on the road. He starts grabbing on the road because I was supposed to like back up and get away from you.
I'm going to get him up to my car.
Well, here, let me.
Make sure he's got nothing on him.
I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing, man.
Oh, I got one man down.
Put me down.
That's Mom.
I know. I'm with it.
Chainsaw? Hey, get up. Okay, we're gonna walk to my car over here, okay? Hang on tight. Okay. So just right. So you're detained right now. Okay. You understand that? Okay. Stay right there. I'm gonna pat you down for weapons. Okay. You got any weapons on you?
No.
So what you said. Copy first up. Hey, thank you, man. Dad disapproves of them being together. So he's been hunting them down all day. Apparently he was already told not to come to this school, not to be here, and he still showed up here, saw them out front, and started to fight with both of them.
The dad and
Dad? Yeah, he's primary aggressor. Good.
So now I see some runaways, but it looks like it's going to be his dad. So
All right, thank you. Let me get a statement form. Oh, yeah, perfect.
I want to speak with my daughter.
You're not speaking to anyone at the moment.
Just I want to speak with my daughter.
You will not speak to your daughter.
Why? This is my daughter over here. I want to let her to go take her mom to home.
Okay, well, we're investigating a criminal investigation right now.
Just let me to tell her to take her mom, not like that. Just I tell her to go home, she will go home.
I ran out of statement forms. Do you have any? I'm not going to come and have them fill out.
who is this?
That's mom and sister. Mom, sister, and dad have been tracking runaway.
Okay, okay, so I had it right. That's what I'm about to try. Who are these people? Witnesses?
They came and saw suspect dad beaten, trying to get involved, and so this guy tackled dad and had him detained for me when I got here.
Oh, nice.
The moment I got here. So.
Where's the dad at?
Dad's in the back of my car.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, he's detained. Not under arrest yet, but from the more sounds of it, he's going to be the primary aggressor. Okay, so again, you're not under arrest at the moment, but I'm going to read you your rights, okay? So you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right at this time to talk to your lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before questioning if you wish. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you?
I want to speak with my wife. Let her go.
Do you understand these rights I've explained to you?
Zahra!
It's a yes or a no, okay?
Zahra, تعال هنا!
So everything's audio, video recorded, okay?
Okay.
So do you understand these rights I've explained to you?
حنين! زهراء! أخذ السيارة منها وديتها ليبوقوها!
I need a yes or a no, okay? Or I'm going to assume you
أخذ
don't want to...
السيارة منها يبوقوها! السيارة يبوقوها!
Unbelievable, right? Still thinks he's in charge. You know, attacking his daughter, full public view, has to be dragged off her. He's in handcuffs, still thinks he's in charge of what's going to happen to his daughter at that point. Unbelievable. Let's bring in our think tank. Joined by criminal defense attorney, former district attorney Matthew Mangino, former prosecutor Margaret McLean. She's also the host of It's a Crime with Margaret McLean, the podcast, and civil rights and trial attorney Erica Wilson. Great to see everyone tonight. New trial coming up here on Court TV. Jury selection has begun in this case. Second-degree attempted murders are the charges here. Matthew Mangino, I don't understand how a father thinks he can do that. Like, in public, Like, I know this stuff happens behind closed doors all the time, and it's apparently happened to this poor little girl behind closed doors as well. But here in public, thinks he can get away with this.
Well, Vinnie, it's hard to wrap your head around this, you know, especially in America. I mean, this idea of an honor killing because you don't approve of your daughter having a boyfriend other than the person that you have a prearranged marriage with. And, you know, although we don't frequently see that here in this country, you know, it's such a problem in other countries that, you know, international conventions have been signed that you know, outlaw this kind of conduct, that human rights organizations, you know, have stepped in and because of this type of conduct. But to see it here in America is really extraordinary. And, you know, this is a guy who you know, was strangling his daughter until she was unconscious because she was with her boyfriend and wasn't going along with his prearranged marriage.
It's unreal. And no acknowledgement, Margaret, no acknowledgement in the moment, in what's happening. Like, no acknowledgement that, like, hey, you know what, you're in the back of a police cruiser. Like, you're not in charge anymore. Doesn't realize that.
Well, I think he was still so angry at the boyfriend and the situation with the daughter, and he was, you know, so interested in what his wife was doing. And my understanding was the wife was also attacking the boyfriend and told to stay away from the school. So, I mean, the jury's going to see all that, and he is not going to have any sympathy with the jury, especially, I understand there was an excited utterance, too, by the victim. She ran into the school after and said, "My dad was trying to kill me." So it's really a horrible and very sad situation here, and an American jury is just not going to like it at all.
Now, I'm going to show you some more video, Erica, of the mom, and we've been showing you this body camera video. Pieces of it have been muted by police because some of the things that are said were redacted, and that's what they've done in the video. But here you see part of the mom's reaction to this entire situation. She's been charged in all this as well, but obviously officers at the scene don't realize what she has allegedly done. Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's get them out.
I think they're insisting on waiting for the daughter.
Huh?
They're insisting on waiting for the daughter.
Well, they're going to that. Oh, the other daughter. Where's the other daughter?
The one inside. I saw it been placed under arrest.
Oh, well, victim's going down.
Oh, no. So they're insisting I want to see her. I don't know if we're going to get him to leave.
No, so landlord doesn't want them.
Well, we're not going to get him to leave unless we make him.
Well, no, they need to leave. Where's their car at? They should be a sedan.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah, Chrysler. Oh, they got the Pilot. They drove the Pilot.
I didn't see my daughter.
Okay, well, we can't have you see her right now, okay? So you need to leave. Hey, so... Okay, I'm going to make this clear, right?
I didn't see her.
So...
I didn't see her. I didn't talk with her.
So you're...
I didn't talk with her. Yeah, I wanted to talk with her.
I'll have her give you a call.
Yeah, I didn't talk with her.
Okay. So, hey, so... Mom, do you remember we talked about that you cannot be on Thurston Timberline property? Okay.
Like, there's already a history here, Erica, as we're watching this video, already a history that they're not even supposed to be on the school property because of what has happened previously. This mother, I want to talk to my daughter. Why does she want to talk to her daughter? Her husband just tried to kill her.
You know, this is one of those things where we're dealing with an honor killing, and the honor comes from killing your own child under this set of facts. These are not the type of people who are going to walk that back. They're going to maintain what they did was right. They're going to feel that it was justified, including the mother. And I empathize with the mother because I understand she may be following behind her husband in that she is still wanting to protect her daughter, but even you can tell from the video that she understands that this is something that still had to happen in their culture and in their religion. They feel there was honor in killing her simply because she she wanted to do what most kids around that age do, is have a boyfriend, and she didn't want to espouse to obviously to what their fundamental beliefs are in this arranged marriage that they have for them. I don't see this going well for either the mother or the father, unfortunately, even though she does attempt to have some sort of sympathy for her daughter and wants to at least see her about her, or at least that's what it's appearing to be. We don't know that to necessarily be true. She could just be wanting to see her just to kind of lambaste her some more for what has occurred. This is a really, really unfortunate set of facts.
How can people be so oblivious to the basic, fundamental laws of the land, which are like, you don't abuse your children, you don't try to take your child's life? Like, to me, that is so, I don't understand how you can be oblivious to it and think like, okay, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be rightful, and it's going to be okay, and I'm not going to completely destroy my family. Because now that the victim has a sister, her life is blown up right now. The mother's life is blown up. She's on trial. I mean, the family's gone. The father basically took this family, and now it's disintegrated, Matthew. How could he be so oblivious to what was going to happen if you attempted to do that here?
Well, you're right, Vinny. I mean, if you try to think what they were thinking, they showed up at the school where she was with her boyfriend. They attack the boyfriend, the father does, and then he is strangling her until she's unconscious. What do you expect the outcome of that to be? You're in the United States of America. You're in the state of Washington. You know that no matter what your culture is, that here and now, you can't go and choke the life out of your daughter and expect that what? You're going to get in the car and drive home, and everybody's going to say, oh, well, she wouldn't marry the guy that they set her up with. I mean, think about that. It's illogical. We can't even put our head around what they would be thinking at that point.
Does it seep into their defense, Margaret, here? Does that become part of their defense? Somehow their deep-rooted beliefs become part of their attempt at a defense here?
I mean, they could try to argue that it was some religion, all part of their religion and some sort of First Amendment right. But, I think it's going to be, it's not going to fly in this country. And then in the back of the, jury, I always think, what's the jury going to think? And you wonder how much that defendant, the father, was being paid by the old guy in Iraq. There might have been quite a he was probably depending on this financial arrangement. So, that would probably come out in trial. And it's just not going to look good for the mother or maybe the mother. Maybe there will be abuse. Some sort of stuff will come out.
She's got to point the finger at her husband. She's going to have to point the finger at her husband. We'll see if that happens. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. All right, Think Tank staying with us. They're not going anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about Karen Reed. Guess what, folks? It's not over. It's not over. New defense team coming in. We'll tell you about that. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, convicted killer Lori Daybell is once again making stunning claims about her dead children and her profit fifth husband, Chad Daybell. She gives a tell-all interview from behind bars. Does Lori admit to anything? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage this August on Court TV.
What say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? The defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
The standard in the civil lawsuit is far different than the beyond a reasonable doubt standard applicable in the criminal case. So the hurdles that the O'Keefe family will have to overcome are lesser than the prosecution has in the criminal case.
And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice
Karen Reed won the criminal trial. She won her liberty, her freedom, right? But a trial is supposed to be a search for the truth. But if the one accused of committing the crime is found not guilty, did the truth come out inside the courtroom? Do we have an answer as to what happened to John O'Keefe? Could that answer come from somewhere else? Could it come from a civil lawsuit? Karen Reed is being sued by the O'Keefes. She won't have the same dream defense team. Here is her new attorneys, Damon Seligson, Charles Waters, Aaron Rosenberg. That's part of her team that'll defend her in this civil case. Let's talk about the civil case and what we may learn and whether or not we'll get closer to the truth. Still with me, Matthew Mangino, Margaret McLean, and Erica Wilson. Erica, let me ask you, and this kind of goes both ways here, right? Because if you believe that John O'Keefe was killed by Karen Reed, will the O'Keefes and their defense team have an opportunity to dive deeper into getting to the truth by subpoenaing, calling to testify, deposing Karen Reed and her parents? On the other side, if you believe that John O'Keefe was killed by people in 34 Fairview, will Karen Reed and her attorneys be able to subpoena and depose all the people that were inside the house that night?
Both things are true. So we're looking at two completely different burdens of proof here. The discovery latitude that you have in a civil case is far greater than what you would have in a criminal case. And so, yes, so she will have the opportunity to vindicate herself in ways in which she would not have been able to do in a criminal case. Because in a criminal case, you would have to put on a case in chief, and that opens up a whole bunch of other doors, and you don't necessarily want to get into that. But here, she can, her platform has been that he was killed by police officers. So now she has her opportunity, her day in court again, to be able to establish that. Same thing is true with his family in terms of being able to establish whether her being civilly responsible for his death, is not the same as being criminally responsible. So they still have a shot at this. And to me, the amount that they're suing for is so nominal. I believe it to be just probably the policy limits that she had on her vehicle at the particular time, that it just seems to be symbolic, and that this family just really just wants to kind of get some closure and have a court of law say that she was responsible for his death.
Absolutely. If you believe she killed your son, you want a sense of justice in some way. You want some jury to come back and say what happened. Let me ask you, Margaret McLean, how much more, if this goes to trial, will we learn about that night?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that the civil case was filed in Plymouth County, so it's no longer in Norfolk County, which I think will benefit the O'Keefes. Plymouth County happens to be my county, and I think a change of venue, first of all, would have been good. But, you know, we've got depositions, so we're going to be learning a lot more about, you know, that came out in trial 1, so it'd be kind of like a combination between trial 1 and trial 2.
But there were so many limitations on questions. There were so many limitations in both trials about what the jury couldn't even find out about the federal investigation. I mean, are both sides going to have, like Erica said, much more latitude? And as a result, are we going to find out more? Are people going to be compelled to testify this time around?
They'll be subpoenaed to testify, absolutely. And Karen Reed's deposition will be taken. So we'll learn about what her story really is, other than those Dateline videos, that we saw in the second trial. But a lot more will come out. However, I still think the O'Keefes have a strong case because, again, based on the data and the evidence, there was really hard to prove that anything happened inside 34 Fairview. And all, again, all that will come out, but we might learn some other things, like, about the phones, for example, what really happened with Brian Elbert's phone and Higgins' phone. Did he really go to the military base to throw out his trash? Or was he deliberately trying to get rid of his phone? So a lot of those types of questions will be answered. But as far as, planting evidence at the scene, I still think, according to the timeline, there was not enough time for
we can argue
to plant that evidence.
Well, I want to know what more we're going to learn here. Let me ask you, Matt Mangino. Judge Cannoni limited what the defense could do in their own discovery in getting hands on phone records. I mean, they wanted records of all the people that were at 34 Fairview. Will they be able to fully investigate their third-party culprit allegations in the civil case that was limited by Judge Cannoni in the first 2 trials?
Yeah, they certainly are going to be able to learn more about that, because when you're dealing with a civil trial and a civil deposition, the questions that you ask and the information that has to be furnished doesn't have to necessarily be relevant to the case, but could lead to relevant evidence. And that's a big difference. And the other thing is, you know, the O'Keefes want Karen Reed to testify under oath, and she's going to have to do that in a deposition. And that, I think, is key
and
here.
And her parents as well.
Well, anybody who could have information that might lead to relevant information in the civil case can be subject to discovery, depositions, you know, interrogatories, so many different means to gain this information.
So the search for the truth will be a little bit deeper and maybe a little more thorough and not as limited as it was in the first 2 trials. Okay, stand by, folks. We are still in a verdict watch in the Preppy Party Murder Trial. Questions from the jury. What do they mean? Will justice be served?
I do want to acknowledge that I did receive a note from you late yesterday afternoon, early evening, as I was taking the bench to dismiss you for the evening. It does appear from your note that you indicate that you are deadlocked as to count 1, so you remain deadlocked as to count 1, and also deadlocked as to certain charges at counts 2, 3, and 4. It does, however, appear to the court that you are deliberating as your duty requires. By the court's estimate, you have been deliberating a little less than 5 hours at this point in time. I would simply suggest that you continue with your deliberations. Again, you should review the evidence and the position of each juror to determine if any evidence has been overlooked or any juror's position misunderstood with respect to either the evidence or the law. I remind you that you may have portions of any testimony read back to you if you deem it essential for your deliberations. You have all the full exhibits with you in the court deliberations room. Kindly explain your views and listen to the views of others. That goes for everyone. Ultimately, of course, you will make up your own mind and decide this case on the basis of your own individual judgment and conscience. So at this time, I am going to redirect you to the jury room to continue on with your deliberations relative to this case. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for your continued deliberations with respect to this matter. As I indicated earlier, you do have the opportunity to have parts or portions of testimony played back to you upon your request. I did receive a note, which will be marked as Exhibit 9. The time 2:52, it did take us some time to locate the portion of the testimony that we believe satisfies your inquiry. So you're first going to hear a clip of Raul Valle's testimony that occurred during direct examination. And then thereafter, you will hear an additional clip of testimony that occurred during the cross-examination of Raul Valle.
They're deadlocked on counts 1 and certain charges on 2, 3, and 4. Count 1 is murder. That's the big one. 2, 3, and 4. The assaults with the knife on the 3 surviving victims. Let's bring back in our think tankers, Matthew Mangino, Margaret McLean, Erica Wilson. Erica, it's been now over 10 hours. They'll be back again tomorrow. It's beginning to get long, according to my theorem of how long they should be deliberating in an average case. It's on the long side now. If it sticks like this, it sounds like it could be a partial verdict on some lesser includeds. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, you know, I agree 100% on that. And typically when you have jurors that go on for extended amount of times, you do have to wonder which way are they going? Are they leaning towards, is it 11-1 for an acquittal? Is it 11-1 for guilty? We don't know. But given that they are entertaining the lesser included charges, it could be a partial verdict. I mean, we've seen that come out with the Diddy trial just recently, where we had a partial verdict on the lesser included charges. And I think that may be where this juror is probably headed.
Yeah, they've seen videos of the fight, not the entire part of the fights. Obviously, parts of it are missing there, but they've got that. They're listening back now, Matthew, to the testimony of the defendant himself. Self-defense, normally you take the stand to tell your story. He did that. What are your thoughts about how this looks right now for this defendant?
Well, I think the more time that goes by, the better it is for the defendant in this case. But it's interesting, you know, we heard that it was an 11-1 deadlock. And so, you know, obviously the 11 jurors who are voting in one way, whether it's guilty or not guilty, are trying to convince that one. And they're actually deliberating. It's not as though they've thrown their hands up and they're just sitting in there. They wanted to hear a testimony. And I think it's interesting, the testimony they wanted to hear, specifically with regard to Tyler Da Silva, who was his friend. And, you know, is this an issue that they're looking at in terms of defending a third party? Because you can have a defense, a self-defense claim that is protecting a third party, and they wanted to hear that testimony. So to me, they're still, you know, working, and hey, that 11-1 could change. They may have changed their position. You may have more people going in another direction. There's a lot of things that could be going on right now in that jury room, and the longer it takes, I think the defendant benefits.
And this is the part, right, Margaret, where if we try to, you know, give the jurors some instructions and we tell them, and basically the law speaks out of both sides of its mouth, doesn't it, during this part of deliberations where it's like, get back in there and deliberate, but hold on to your beliefs. But get back in there and deliberate, listen to everybody, but, you know, vote your own conscience. Like, we are telling them to change their minds without changing their minds. If it's 11-1, there's a good chance that that mind could change, or there could be some level of compromise.
Well, that's right, Vinnie. And I also think that the instruction in Connecticut is to think about, even if you're on the minority, try to consider some of the majority, what they're saying. So have an open mind as you go in there. But listening, I watched the entire, all the testimony, the cross examination and direct examination, and I really don't think the defendant did very well on the stand. I don't think he held up very well in cross-examination, so I found that very interesting that they asked for certain clips on that. So I don't know. You don't know what a jury will do, and I just didn't think. On the other hand, you know, he's also very young. He was 16 when this crime was committed. So perhaps some of the jurors are like, hey, you know, it's a fight. Give this kid a break. He's young and he's got his whole life in front of him. But then again, somebody else died. So you don't know what a jury will do.
Somebody else who was super young is dead, right? So those sympathies get split. Depends upon your perspective. But there is a slight advantage to the defendant because they actually see him. They'll never see the defendant because he's dead. He's gone. So there isn't that same human connection unless prosecutors are able to do that and make that connection with the jury on behalf of the victim of the case. Erica, I think about this case, and what do you think justice is in a case like this, right? We're looking at this chaos. I don't know where you grew up, but where I grew up, there were nights like this. There just were. I wasn't involved in them, but there were nights like this. I know classmates and things. Kids got in trouble. Kids got expelled. I know that happened in my school. What are your thoughts about how the jury approaches something like this?
You know, Vinnie, listen, when my book comes out, you'll see that I too might have attended a party where I was actually an observer to these type of things. But one thing that I can tell you, never in a situation where you have this, does somebody not really remember stabbing multiple people. And so you have this particular set of facts. I think it's kind of chaotic. He will get the sympathy vote given that he was a little young, and these are the type of things, the bravado that you expect from teenage boys when they get riled up. It's an unfortunate situation that it actually did go too far. I agree earlier that he did not do well on the stand, so I'm not sure actually whether or not the sympathy that he has now that he will get for something that he did when he was 16 years old, because now, you know, it's not coming across as sympathetic.
Yeah, to me, Matthew, golden rule number one, you don't bring a knife to a fist fight, right? Like it could be that simple for some jurors.
Well, it could be. And again, Vinnie, going back and listening to that cross-examination that the jury wanted to hear again, one of the things that he was crossed on was this idea, were you surrounded? And he said that he wasn't, that maybe it was a horseshoe, which again goes back to the fundamental issue with regard to self-defense. If you have the ability to retreat, if you can run through that horseshoe opening and get out of there, you have that responsibility in Connecticut. And that might be just what someone's hung up on.
Yep, that's the difference between states like Connecticut and states like Florida, where you don't have to. If you're illegally in a place where you're allowed to be, you do not have to retreat. Big thank you, Matthew Mangino, Margaret McLean, Erica Wilson. Great to have you aboard. See you again really, really soon. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates doomsday cult mom Lori Daybell making headlines again, this time for a shocking jailhouse interview after being convicted in Arizona for her fourth husband's death. She claims God is using her and her fifth husband Chad as instruments. So after both were convicted of murder, what does Lori think of Chad? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight, and it's a big one, folks. Take a look. Crystal Rogers' verdict. Brooks Houck, guilty of Crystal Rogers' murder. Joseph Lawson, guilty of conspiracy, tampering with evidence. Brooks Houck, life is the recommendation of the jury, 20 for Lawson. We still have not found Crystal Rogers, but a lot of reaction in Bardstown, Kentucky tonight. Take a look. They lined the streets in pink, celebrating justice for Crystal Rogers and her family tonight. Unbelievable reaction. I also want you to take a listen to Crystal's grandpa and her daughter.
I know he didn't have any reaction in the courtroom when the verdict was read.
No. I mean, I seen him make one little tear, but other than that, nothing.
What about your mom?
Yeah, she's very happy too, and I know she's watching down on all of us.
And hopefully the next step is that they find Crystal Rogers, who is still missing tonight, more than 10 years. Okay, folks, we have a child that needs your help tonight, a missing child. Please take a look. This is Rebekah Smith, just 17 years old, missing out of Memphis, Tennessee since June 24th. Here's what you need to do. If you see Rebekah, take a look at the picture. If you see Rebekah, pick up a phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Memphis Police Department in Tennessee. That phone number's on our screen right now. Let's see if we can get Rebekah to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime and interview with Lori Valle. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.